Okay, y'all, what is up, fellow nerds? I'm very, very excited. I'm very, very hyped up. So, in another video that I did, I had talked about, well, in most of my other videos, I've talked about the fact that these videos that I do are unscripted, and I will only, say things that were planned if I was moved to plan them. This does not happen all the time, so I always get super fucking hype when I have information that I am allowed to share, or not really allowed, but that I can talk about, and it's like I get really excited. And then today's topics I'm really excited about, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So yes, for those of you who are new here, my name is Yasha. I am a metaphysical bitch who enjoys talking about various topics on my channel. The purpose of these videos, where I'm dressed like this and I have this type of stuff, like my little crystal mobile, the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm on an authenticity journey where I am sharing things about myself that are very vulnerable. And I was moved to do this when I started my spiritual journey in October of 2024. And so that's what these videos are for. This is why I do this. And it's so far been helping people. I've actually had feedback. I didn't expect to get any feedback for the longest time. So welcome to those of you who are newly subscribed, and you may have come from my other videos where I was singing stuff, or people who saw some of my videos and subscribed. I am so shook every time I glance, like when I go to upload a new video and then it shows me the amount of subscribers. I'm always shocked when that number goes up, even if it's by like 1 or 2 people. I'm like, this is crazy. I never, ever, when I've like done stuff before, had like growth that happened this fast, like with a channel. And I know some people are like, it's not actually, like, if you've been with me since like the first video that I did where I had like 772 subscribers, it's like we're at like 847 now. I think I'm at like 847, and it's like, that's not significant growth, but to me it is, because every subscriber to me represents a person, and people have so much content that they can take in at any given time during the day. So the fact that somebody hits the subscribe button because they want to see more from me blows my mind. It gets me so hype. I'm not gonna lie to you. Even though, as I always say, you do not have to subscribe, you do not have to like, and you do not have to comment on any of my videos. If you are a lurker and you just want to lurk, you just want to watch the videos, or you just want to see what's going on in this one because you may have seen the title, whatever the title's gonna be, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. So, at this point, grab some water. We're about to be yapping on some of my favorite topics, so it's time to wet the old whistle. I'm so excited. Okay. So, in last night's video, I briefly mentioned at the very end of the video that anime is actually one of the reasons why I became a spiritual person in the first place. And I touched on that very briefly. And then today I went back to read some of the comments and stuff on that video, and I felt in my spirit, it was like, you should talk about this. And I was like, can I? So then I used the little yes no wheel that I always use, 4 minutes and 4 seconds as I say this. For those of you who are new here, sometimes if like I'm too excited or I'm like really, really emotional and I'm having trouble locking in with my intuition, I will find a yes no wheel or a coin or something on Google, and I'll flip it and I will say heads or tails, yes or no to this thing, or I typically use the yes no wheel. And I do that because it allows me to detach myself from the decision. So if I say, so like today, I was like, oh, should I tonight in my video talk about spirituality and anime as a combined thing? Should that be a topic I talk about? I spun the wheel and it landed on yes. If it had landed on no, I wouldn't have talked about this. I probably just would have come in and it would have been completely unscripted. I mean, I don't have a script because these videos tend to be pretty long, but I did write some things down, and I'm very, very excited to get into it. So, how should I do this? I know. I'll turn him into a flea. A harmless little flea. And then I'll put that flea in a box, and then I'll put that box inside of another box, and then I'll mail that box to myself, and when it arrives, I'll smash it with a hammer. Lock in, sister. Okay, so let's start with the term spirituality. So for those of you who you are not spiritual people, or you have heard the term and you go, ew, I taste bullshit. I get it. I 100% get it. There is New Age spiritualism, which looks exactly like what you think it looks like. It's a bunch of people buying tarot card decks, buying crystals, saying that they're enlightened, and it's a lot of people out here who have access, 5 minutes and 55 seconds as I say this, all of these people on here who are faking the funk have access to the spiritual. They all do. Every single person. But not every single person takes the time to lock it into this energy. What it takes to lock it in is simply being aware of self. That's it. It takes a dedication to wanting to get to know yourself and your power. Unlearning all of the toxic shit that you've been taught. That's what it takes. And so you have a lot of people who are out here like, oh yes, I do this and I do this. But whether or not they can remains to be seen, right? So I looked up the definition of spirituality today because I realized I didn't know what the working definition was. And let me slow down. I know I'm talking really fast. Hold on. Let me just lock it in really quick. Because I get so excited. And then I talk too fast, and then people can't understand me. He needs some milk. Okay, so I looked up the definition of spirituality. And it is, loosely, pertaining to or in connection to the human soul or spirit. So it's pretty much anything that has to do with the spirit. And I think some people also kind of consider spirit consciousness. So when I say spirituality, what I mean is anything that pertains to the non-physical. So the physical are things like you pick up a piece of food, you eat it, you taste it, physical. A sound happens, you hear it, physical. You touch your hand, or you touch a wall, or you touch something, and you feel yourself touching it, physical. Spirituality, it leans very heavily on the things that are unseen. They are the normal senses don't always pick them up, and if they do pick them up, they pick them up in a really weird way. And oftentimes, in this genre, there are things that are not able to be replicated. And because of that, a lot of practical people, which I respect y'all, a lot of practical people, they don't fuck with it because they're like, well, it can't be repeated. If I can't hear it, taste it, touch it, it's not real. And that view on life is completely valid. If you are here simply for entertainment purposes and you don't fuck with the messages and the shit that I'm talking about, that's totally fine. You can hang out here too, friend. As long as we're kind to each other in the comments, you can do whatever you want while you're here. 9 minutes and 9 seconds as I say that. So just want to put that out there. So for me, when I was growing up, I was the kid who a lot of my inner child has been here. 4 years. She has not gone away. I believe that dragons do exist. They just don't exist in the way that we're used to seeing them in fantasy. At least not here on Earth, where they're walking around. If they are, they might be in the deepest depths of the ocean as gigantic ass sea serpents. I believe in... I do believe in ghosts, but I don't believe in, the hokey pokey type ghost shit. I just believe that there is consciousness that is unsettled and it kind of hangs out in certain spaces. So when you walk into a certain location and you just feel sick to your stomach and you're like, I don't want to be here, I feel like there's a reason for that. I feel like there's just a bad vibe that's there. So like ghosts, instead of it being ghosts, for me, I just see it as like good or bad vibes. So you go somewhere, you're like, oh man, it feels really nice here, blah blah blah, everything's good. And then you find out the person that passed here was this super saint of a woman who made cookies for the whole neighborhood, and like her home was always a safe space. And it's like, you know, I don't necessarily believe that her ghost is just there hanging out, but I believe that that energy is still there, you know? But growing up, I definitely believed in the human mind's capacity and the ability to read minds, telepathy, just a lot of like the superhero shit. I was raised on X-Men. I was raised on the Justice League. I was raised on, you know, Dragon Ball Z. These are things that I was raised on. Zelda. Like Harry Potter. 11 minutes and 11 seconds as I say this. And so for me growing up, I did not have parents who told me that things were not real. At a certain point, they became very like realist as far as this is what you need to do when you go to school, this is how you need to act and all this stuff. But when it came to my spiritual beliefs or my beliefs in like the phantasmal, if you will, the fantastical aspects of life, the magical aspects, my parents were gung-ho for it. They were very supportive. Now, whether or not they believed it, I don't know if they did. But they always would ask me questions. If I would be like, oh yeah, I saw a fairy in the woods and I really thought that's what I saw, they would ask me to describe it. They would ask me my experience. They wouldn't tell me I was being silly or stupid or dumb. And I think that's a big part of the reason why I have maintained, like, my inner child has been pretty much there my entire life. I mean, definitely there were moments where I, you know, diverged and kind of had her silent in the background, which I apologized profusely for, and she has forgiven me and now hangs tight with me, and I can hear her pretty frequently when I do things. But for the most part, I always believed in magic. So you can imagine my excitement when I saw Dragon Ball Z for the first time. Grown-ass men are screaming at the top of their lungs and going alight. Energy is around them, and the ground is literally crumbling under the immense spiritual pressure. Yo, you couldn't tell me shit. As a kid, I was like, I looked at my dad, I was like, what is this? And my dad was like, oh, it's Dragon Ball Z. The idea that a man goes to a planet where the gravity is increased and he trains hard as fuck to the point where when he comes back to Earth, my guy can fly. I get chills thinking about that stuff. There is so much spirituality and magic that resides in anime and in a lot of our entertainment. And I believe that it's not just imagination and fiction. I believe it's meant to inspire us to shoot higher, to go higher, to believe more. I don't think we were meant to put ourselves in these boxes where we're like, well, oh, that's the ceiling, that's it. No. When people said the sky's the limit, I believe that phrase was meant to let you know that you can keep going. And then when we had astronauts go into space, the sky was ringing in my ears. The sky was no longer the limit. 14 minutes and 14 seconds as I say that. The sky stopped being the limit, a long time ago. And I love that. I've said in another video, I believe human beings are potential. They are energy cooking in a physical body. And based on where that human being puts their attention, one way or the other, will dictate the type of life that person lives, the type of things that they do. So in Dragon Ball Z, something that I associate... Oh, wait, what's this? Hold on. 1 second. Yeah, so much of my spiritual practice has anime at its core, bro. Like, I'm not even lying. So, Dragon Ball Z. To me, Dragon Ball Z started my want for power. I was a very small kid. I was very petite, very thin, and I felt weak a lot, frequently. Weakness was a word, 15 minutes and 15 seconds to say this. Weakness was something I felt frequently, being small and frail. And so the idea that you had these super muscular men who would train and these really strong women and these really strong characters in Dragon Ball Z who were so powerful that literally their aura extends past their physical body, and you're watching rocks raise up or the ground physically crack under the weight of immense spiritual and energetic pressure. When I imagine my body, and I am meditating or I'm doing any type of energy healing work on myself, what I am imagining is that aura. I am visualizing that. When I was a kid, I used to do it. I would sit there and I would visualize this really powerful, like, gold aura outside of me. And it always got me super hyped. Then when I got older and I started researching, like, different spiritual practices and energy healing, a lot of people, 60 minutes and 16 seconds as I say this, a lot of people who do spiritual practices, that is what they're seeing. When they're dealing with energy healing, what they talk about seeing, what a lot of people who are doing it, they're saying the same thing. They see an aura around the human body. And then even science. When you zoom in with a super microscope and you look at the human body, our atoms and our skin, there is a tint, there is a glow. The light is not outside of you. That song, what is it? It's on the Chromacopia album, Tyler the Creator's Chromacopia album. If you haven't heard it, I think you should try it. It might not be for everybody. I loved it. The song Saint Chroma, at the very beginning of the song, I think somebody says, I think it's that song, where she says, the light is not outside of you, it is in you. It glows from the inside out. Whenever you see characters in like movies and anime and they get like super powerful and their eyes glow, and like something that I always like to imagine was like I would have tattoos one day, and now I do have tattoos, and like the tattoos glowing white on dark skin, bro, that shit got me so hyped to think about like growing up. But that light is in you right now. Yasha, are you saying we all have spiritual pressure? Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to tell you, my love. You have spiritual pressure inside of you right now. The power that is within you is greater. It's 10 times greater than the power that is just resting within the world. We are powerful, creative beings. Oh my God. Oh my God. So Dragon Ball Z really introduced me to that. So for me, I do a little bit of energy healing on myself. I've done a little bit of energy healing on other people, and I am not trained. I have not read up on a bunch of books. I'm not a professional, which is why I don't offer those services. That's not me. That's not the path that I'm on. That's not what I do. I just know when I get sick, I realized when I get sick, it is not... What I'm experiencing are symptoms of a core issue. And some doctors will tell you the truth, which is that usually what medication does for you is it does not cure the cause of the illness itself. What it is doing is it's easing the symptoms. So it's not attacking the core of the problem. So if you have a headache, there is a reason you have that headache. But usually what happens is what? You take Advil, you take ibuprofen or Tylenol, and those things heal the symptom of the headache. And really, they don't heal it. I found out recently what ibuprofen actually does is, because somebody was asking in a video, they were like, so how does the ibuprofen know where the pain is in the body? Because I'll take ibuprofen and I'll have a pain in my foot, pain goes away. Or I have a headache, pain goes away. How does it know? And the response was, oh, it doesn't. What it does, and I don't know if this is true, so you should go look it up and then get back to me in the comments if this is true or if it's not true. If it's not true, good to know. But what I understood in that video or in that post was that ibuprofen actually goes for the like not the transmitters, but it essentially communicates to your body that you are not in pain. But the pain itself doesn't necessarily go away. It's not dealing with the core of why you have a headache, which could be because the air pressure has changed. So something is changing in your brain, like the air pressure. It could be that you're not drinking enough water or you haven't eaten. Those types of things are the core issue to why you would have a headache. There are other reasons, obviously, but this is just an example. And what you would need to do, instead of just popping a bunch of ibuprofen or Tylenol or any type of pain medication, is you should drink more water or eat more food. So, for me, whenever I get sick, I attribute it to the energy centers in the body, the chakras, if you will. And I only ever deal with like the big 7. I have not done any research into all the other ones because there are apparently thousands of them. But I deal with the crown, the third eye, the throat, the heart, the solar plexus, the sacral, and the root chakra. And usually, if I'm sick, I can literally figure out which of those energy centers is out of balance. And then what I'll do is I'll figure out, well, why is it out of balance? I did a video. It was a video that I did a while ago where I was being told spiritually, I felt it in my gut that I needed to talk about a crush that I had, particularly on the streamer Pezzy. And I was like, that's embarrassing. Ew, it's very cringe. I don't want to talk about that shit. And I developed a sore throat over the next couple of days. And it was only once I did the video speaking my truth, which because the throat chakra deals with communication. It deals with honesty. It deals with authenticity. It also deals with, there's something else that I'm forgetting. But once I spoke my truth, my throat immediately began to feel better. And then it was better the next day. Better the next day. Now, when I had this sore throat, I took medication and I also took allergy medication because I thought it was allergies. It persisted until I did that video. Now, somebody watching this video might be like, well, it's probably because it wore off. Okay, if you're a person who wants to put logic to everything that I'm saying, you are totally welcome to do that. That is totally fine. I'm not going to try to tell you what to do or what not to do. But really, these videos are for the magical people. So if you're coming in here on some, you didn't get a letter to Hogwarts energy, this might not be the space for you, homie. You might need to pack it up and head somewhere else. But, so, whenever I get sick, I deal with those energy centers. And I focus on the color. In my mind, I imagine that energy center, 23 minutes as I'm saying this, I imagine the energy center and I imagine the color that vibrates through it. So, for example, my solar plexus, or our solar plexuses, plexi, if you will, that particular space glows yellow. Yellow is the color that's associated with that space. And so, I am actually prone to stomach problems. I didn't start having stomach problems until after I got COVID. After I caught COVID in 2020, my gut health was never the same. It was never the same. I would frequently have random bouts of nausea, and I'd be sick for days. So what I started doing was I started noticing the solar plexus actually deals with confidence in self-esteem. It's one of the energy centers. There's some other stuff that it deals with. I don't have all this stuff memorized. Usually I have notes on my phone. I will find information online and I create a folder and I put it all in the folder and I just have it there so that if I start feeling unwell, I can be like, okay, yo, what the fuck? What is happening? I need to feel better. Like, that's usually what I do. So I don't have all of this memorized. So if you're 24 minutes and 24 seconds as I say this. So if you're a person who wants to get into spiritual practices, metaphysical practices, and you're like, there's just so much information, this is why you create your own kind of, you can get a binder or you can create a document in your phone or on your computer where you literally just place all of this information. And if you're a person who prefers it, like you prefer to be able to find it when you need it, I would categorize that shit if you can. For me, what I used to do, I don't do it anymore because I use my phone. I'm not gonna lie, I use Pinterest. I use Pinterest for so much of this shit because it's just easy. It's just so easy. And I can tell when something is like, I'm like, that's on some fake shit. I could just tell. For me, for my purposes, I can tell. So I will get all that information and I have it in one place where I can go get it if I need it. This is why if I ever do like a tabletop game, or I ever do like a role-playing game like D&D, or like, you know, any type of game like that where it's like, oh, you have to create, you know, your own character and stuff, I usually am like, I want to be a person. I would like to be a person I would like to be a person that has the large book of information, and then that book like comes up and I flip through it with my magical staff in hand and I can cast spells. That's the bitch I want to be in those games. But anyways, so I will seek out that energy center if I feel that it is off. And usually I can tell, like I can scan my body and I know the portions of, I know the energy centers that don't feel well, and then I'll like work on that. But anywho, I have so many spiritual practices that have to do with energy healing, and it all started because of what I saw on Dragon Ball Z. And it's crazy, because now I do that stuff. I feel like it's... What have I done? Why is it darker? Is that better? I don't know if it's better. The Cobb salad. So, Dragon Ball Z started everything. And then, what was the next one? Naruto, which is one of the OG shows. If you're an OG of anime, you know what I'm talking about. Naruto is essentially about a bunch of ninjas, a bunch of ninja children who are coming up through school and they're beating everybody's ass. That is the simplest, that's the simplest explanation that I can give. And in Naruto, I have a feeling this video in particular is for my anime people, so I feel like I shouldn't have to explain the shows because you all know what I'm talking about. In Naruto, something that really stuck out to me were the hand seals. I think they're called, I think it's pronounced the mudras, and they're used for chakra manipulation. So essentially, these kids, when I was growing up, I was like, they're throwing gang signs. It's like, no, they're doing these hand symbols because it helps them guide the energy in their body out so that they can bring that energy out and use it when they be beating each other's asses. Bro, there's one, what is it? Naruto has the Rasengan. Sasuke has Chidori. I think it's Chidori. I think that's how it's pronounced. Chidori? Chidori? I think it's Chidori. Because that's Japanese for bird, right? Or is it? I don't remember. Anyways, so the hand symbols, those are actually used in a lot of different spiritual practices in order to guide energy to different places. Now, I personally don't use a lot of hand symbols. I just don't. I've not been drawn to do that type of work. But when I meditate, I do use certain comfortable hand symbols, and then I would go and I would research it and I would find out that it was actually exactly for what I was using. I'm telling you, everybody watching this video has the ability to lock it in spiritually. And the reason why I want to make sure I say that is because there are a lot of people out here who are gatekeeping spiritual information, and they're gatekeeping for many reasons. One of the chief reasons that I am seeing that people gatekeep this type of like metaphysical and spiritual stuff is because some people feel like they're only special because that is what they have to offer online. So they say, oh, I do tarot card readings, I've got all these crystals in the background, I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm not trying to come for anybody. Like, there are people who are out here, they're doing it because they enjoy it, they're doing it because it makes really great ASMR. I mean, listen. I mean, isn't that amazing? So it's not that anyone is doing, well, let me not say that. Some people are. Some people are claiming that they doing shit and that they know what they doing, and they don't. And they are misleading. And they're doing it on purpose because they want money. karma's a bitch. So whatever's gonna happen in that area is gonna happen. But what was I saying? It's getting hot in here. So read your Bible verse. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yes, gatekeeping, that's where I was. There are a lot of people who are out here gatekeeping this type of information, and they're saying that you can only do it if you do certain things. That is not true. It's not true. You have access right now. You could literally decide right now in this moment, you know what? I'm trying to fuck with the metaphysical. I'm trying to see what this shit's about. Now, I would say, if you're going to do that, I forget that. I was about to try to pull up a phrase. I can't remember exactly how to say it. But if you're going to do that, I would do so researching first. Figure out what you want to do. Figure out what's interesting to you. What you are moved to do, and do a little bit of research on that first, because the journey, you know, the truth of the matter is, it's not a permanent thing. Like, you can be like, I want to try this out and see if it works for me. And then if you feel like it doesn't work and it doesn't work, you just go back to doing what you were doing before. It's not really that big of a deal. But the reason why I tell people you should probably do a little bit of research first is because a lot of spirituality actually takes place in therapy. It takes place dealing with a lot of your trauma, because a lot of your trauma and triggering situations, say an ex who really fucked you over and broke your heart, can cause major blockages for you in various energy centers. And if you're going to be doing that type of work, you need to do so understanding that you're going to run into that level of darkness that kind of develops within you once you've dealt with an issue like that. And that brings me to the third anime. So let's see, we talked about, I'm going to cross these off so that I know, or I'll put a star next to it. I love that I put next to Dragon Ball Z, I put spiritual pressure. And then Naruto, chakra manipulation. I also really liked, like, I was a big fan of the AMVs back in the day. Like, there was one I used to watch all the time. It was Eiffel 65's Move Your Body, everybody, move your body, come on up everybody, move your body, everybody, move your body, come on up everybody, do 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 do. That was my shit back in the day. I used to listen to that all the time. Like, the AMVs from back in the day, they were dope. It was like the first editing that I had ever seen done was on like the old school AMVs, where it would be like Naruto. There were Final Fantasy AMVs, like Final Fantasy Advent Children. Yo, if you haven't seen the movie Final Fantasy Advent Children, I think you should watch it. I know it's a nostalgia thing. It's not like everybody's cup of tea. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it's I love it so much. The music, that's why I love that movie. You don't actually have to watch the movie. Go look up Final Fantasy Advent Children soundtrack on Spotify. In fact, actually, let me write that down right now, because I have the notebook with me. Links to put in the description. Final Fantasy Advent Children original soundtrack. I'll find that for you guys and I will link it in the description. You should go listen to that. It's really good. If you're into like piano music, you're into like orchestra music, honestly, Sephiroth's theme is one of my favorites. Whenever I'm literally feeling like, okay, today I need to pull out some badass energy, I will listen to that music, and I will imagine walking into a room with fire behind me. And it's, you know, if you were to see me in real life and you were to see me like walking slow like this, you'd be like, ugh, cringe, what is she doing? But in my mind, I'm a fucking badass. You can't tell me shit. So that's what's happening there. Okay, so this is cool because I'll actually be able to remember what links I want to share with you guys in the description. Ha 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 ha. So the darkness, the dark energy within you, that's where I was. Wait, hold on. Okay. Hellsing. If you haven't seen the anime Hellsing, it's very, very dark. I loved Hellsing. The thing that I loved about Hellsing was how dark it was. I, growing up, very much so liked darker themed things. I've always been a fan of things that are just a little disturbing. I don't like all horror movies. In fact, most horror movies I don't care for. I like horror video games though. I especially like people playing them because it's just really funny to see people play them. Especially people who be screaming and they be scared the whole time. I love that shit. Or people who are they just body the game and I'm like, yeah, that's what's up. But something that I really liked about everything's copacetic down there. Something that I really liked about Hellsing was how he was a monster. I loved that he was a monster. I loved that he was very scary to other people in the show. And that's actually, I'm also putting that in the description. I saw a AMV of Hellsing and it was to, I believe the group's name is Inomine. And the song was Black Sun, and I loved it. Also Mitternacht. I'm putting that in there too. Y'all are gonna have a ton of music by the time I get done with this. I'm so excited. I love sharing music with people, especially the shit I used to listen to back in the 2000s. But yeah, I loved that he was this monster and he contemplated on his being a monster frequently. And that is actually the point in my life where I really started. First off, that was the beginning of my emo phase. I wore a lot of black. I didn't wear black makeup because I wasn't allowed to wear makeup until I was 17, 18. But that's when I started wearing all black. I was like, oh my gosh, my emotions, they're so heavy. Heavy as the crown, apple at the top of the tree or some shit. It was always, I struggled with emotions because they felt so heavy at the time as a youth. And when I saw Hellsing, there was something about the darkness of the show. There was something about him actually eating people that I was whoa, I feel like this is how my inner demons kind of show up in my life. And it's really, this was I don't remember how old I was when I saw this anime, but it is what triggered the thought. And I thought to myself, one day I'm gonna have a full back tattoo. At the time I didn't know about cosmic horror, so I didn't know about the Cthulhu mythos. But once I learned about the Cthulhu mythos, I was like, that's going on my back. And I'm very happy with the turnout. I'm very happy with the turnout of the full back tattoo. It's pretty great. But the monster within is a frequently, for me at least, I don't know about other people who do spiritual and metaphysical work, but dealing with your inner demons and those dark voices is such a crucial part of my practice. And I spent so many years hearing the internal doubts, the imposter syndrome, the self-saboteur, all of that just negativity that I carried around with me for so long. And I got to a point last year, I think it was November, that I really started dealing with it, where I started to see those things as things that made me stronger. So the inner demons were not to be exercised. For me personally, this may not be your walk. But for me, those inner demons were not meant, I wasn't meant to get rid of them because each of them teach me something. So the inner saboteur that's constantly telling me I'm not worth a damn, the inner saboteur that has been far more just disgusting and mean to me over the years than anybody has ever been. I've made friends with that aspect of myself, and it was hard. It was a very emotional situation. It took me looking at all of the things that I had done throughout my life that I did not like that I did, all of the ways that I harmed other people. And that shit was actually really heavy, but it was incredibly cathartic to write a list of those things, to study that list, and to figure out, how do I feel about that stuff now? I went back, I apologized to people who I had wronged or who I had felt that I had wronged. And then from that point, the practice became, well, how does this inner demon help me? How does this inner demon show up for me? And something that I realized was that my inner saboteur actually works from a place of seeking to protect me. My inner saboteur would tell me that I would never be anything. My inner saboteur would frequently tell me that I wasn't worth anything. That's where all of the dark, I volunteer to leave this plane of existence, like I do it voluntarily, those thoughts all came from the inner saboteur for me. That was my experience. And so learning to accept that part of myself, learning to accept that on some level I am a monster, and I like it. I like that I am aware of the damage that I can do to other people. I think some of the scariest people alive are people who don't realize what they're capable of. People are capable of some really, really fucked up shit. And it's usually the people who, like, I've said this to so many people. I was like, I'll be damned if I'm going to be on one of those documentaries where people are interviewing me and they're like, did you think that this, this guy right up the street, did you think that he was a serial killer and he was eating people? I would be damned if I'd be like, he just didn't seem like the guy who would do that. No. That is a statement that you make when you are the type of person who would get caught out there. I don't want to be caught out there. 41 minutes and 41 seconds. Yo, protect your neck. Keep your head on a swivel. My guy, it's dangerous out here. I don't put anything past anybody. And the reason that I can do that is because I understand what I am capable of. I am capable of some pretty fucked up shit. And so is everybody else. It doesn't make people bad people. It doesn't mean that I should be living in fear, but what it does mean is that when I'm dealing with a person, I shouldn't be sleeping on this person. There should always be a portion of me that is very much so a little detached and allows me to see a person for who they really are. Who are you showing me through your actions, through consistent behavior, not the things that you're telling me to my face that sound really good. So the amount of people who it's like, well, would you kill somebody for this much money? And the amount of people who say no immediately, they don't even think about it. You should think. Think on it. Put yourself in that scenario for just a little bit of time. And I think a lot of people are afraid to do that. I was reading a book. I wish I could remember the title, but essentially it was a dissertation that somebody wrote. And it was about the origins of demons in the world and various cultures and where the idea of Satan and demons came from. And essentially in the paper, the person was talking about how human beings seem to have mentally a struggle with being able to internalize and come to terms with how evil we can be. And so we have to project that onto something else. Demons, Satan. We have to project it in some way because we don't like to think that we are capable of those things. And it was a dissertation, and I don't know what school the person went to. I would try to find it. I think it was Demons and Daemons. Demons and then Daimons. I have to see if I can find that. It was one of the books I had to give away when I moved a couple years ago, because it was super thick and I didn't get through it all. But then I also read a book that I also had to get rid of. It was another one. I read a lot of books that deal with evil in humanity and where we believe it comes from and what it looks like, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how does society see certain acts? And it can get pretty dark. up here. So for me, Hellsing was the beginning. It was an anime that was the beginning of looking at humanity through the lens of who are the real monsters? We make up monsters all the time. But human beings are capable of being monsters. And I think realizing that is such a good thing because it frees you. Once you realize that you are capable of those things and you understand, you can see it in other people, it frees you up to be more, to do more. You start to realize there aren't such harsh limits on what you're capable of. And again, these are all my opinions. Nothing here is 100% fact. I always feel like I have to say that because I do know people who they hear something that resonates with them or that agrees with a thought that they've already had, and so they gung-ho without doing any research. Again, I would read up on things. I would do some soul searching. If you have trusted people in your life who are super great and they've been there for you, run these ideas by them and see what they have to say. You know, I'm used to people being like, Yasha, that's complete horseshit. And I'm like, that's fair, bruh. I'm gonna keep believing this over here on my own. But you don't have to believe it, obviously. I mean, if I met with I actually like when people bring me new information. I don't mind looking at the life that I live with a critical eye. It's actually the reason why I can stand so confidently on the life that I live and the path that I've chosen spiritually, because I don't care for people who try to change my mind, but what I do care for is new information. I like hearing new information. If I've experienced something and then somebody comes up and they're like, here's the logical explanation for it, I'm like, cool, that's dope. It doesn't mean the magic goes away for me. The magic is still there. It's just now I have more information to add to my Rolodex. I love that. So yes, we have now talked a little bit about Hellsing. Oh my god, Yu Yu Hakusho. If you don't know, Yu Yu Hakusho is one of the older anime. Honestly, if you're looking to just feel good and go for a drive, whether you be on motorcycle or in a vehicle, I honestly think you should listen to some anime openings because they're just so good. They're so great. Another anime song that I actually love is Genesis. What the man's name? Genesis, I think is his name in One Punch Man. When he fights Saitama, it's on YouTube. Actually, you can look up Genesis Theme One Punch Man, and it's so good. I listen to that at the gym. I listen to that at the gym after I've done the treadmill, and when I'm like, all right, I'm ready to do these. I'm ready to do like my curls, and you know, I'll put that on and I'll put it on repeat. It's so good. Do I want to link that? I think I want to link that too. We're gonna add that. We're gonna add that to the list of links. One Punch Man. Genesis Theme. Yeah, so in Yu Yu Hakusho, man literally has a spirit gun. He literally just points his finger and is hitting people with spiritual pressure. It literally happens. And then, of course, you know, you got the girl who rides the broom. I don't remember all of the characters' names. My favorite character in Yu Yu Hakusho is Genkai. I love her so much. I've always been a fan of the trainer. I love the guides, especially the guides who really didn't sign up for this, but they do it anyways. Like, I don't believe Gandalf in Lord of the Rings was really like, I don't think that he thought to himself, I'm finna guide all these people. I honestly think he just kept ending up in places where his guidance was needed, and he was like, fuck, fool of a toque, you always be pressing on my nerves. Pippin really stayed on Gandalf's nerves. Like, when you go back, if you like Lord of the Rings and you've watched it and you intend to do another run, go back and watch any scene where Gandalf and Pippin are sharing screen time. Gandalf be so irritated with him. And it's like, it makes sense. It makes so much sense because it's like, bruh, why are you touching things? Stop touching shit. Like, oh great, now you've woken up all of the goblins in the mines of Moria and they coming to fuck us up. All you had to do, bruh, like, he was so fucking bothered. And I get that, and I feel that. He's like, the password didn't open. What you going to do then? Bang your head against the door, bitch. Shut the fuck up. I'm trying to figure out what to do. It's cold out here, damn. Oh my gosh. But yeah, in Yu Yu Hakusho, I love Genkai because there's so much of her advice that she tells him in training that just, you really can attribute it like to your regular workout regimen. So it's like, focus your mind, focus your energy to one point and focus it up. And I believe personally that's how attraction works. So when I think about attracting and manifesting things, I think about bringing all of those thoughts to a single point right here at the front of my forehead. And I hold it right there in an incredibly dense little ball, and I imagine that it's a black hole. And I'm like, this shit is dense as fuck. And then I just imagine firing it out, and then like all these little ripples go out. That's what I do for that. And it's pretty fun. I don't actually have a lot to say about Yu Yu Hakusho because like, it was a good show. It's just that like there's not a lot of like animation stuff that happened that I really was like, whoa, my mind is blown. Because just the animation style is a bit older, but still good, still super impressive. What else do I have here? Bum 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 dun 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 dun. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to, well, no, we can talk about this now. So, Avatar: The Last Airbender. I know some people technically do not consider it an anime. I've heard this before. But I consider it an animated show that I actually really, really like. And Avatar: The Last Airbender, Uncle Iroh, I get emotional when I think about this man because there are so many things that he said in this show that directly helped me in my own life. When he's teaching Zuko, spoilers for Avatar: The Last Airbender, when he's teaching Zuko about learning all of these different styles from the other, what were they called? I'm drawing a blank. But all of the other benders, like, he was like, you have to know about all of these things, because if you just learn about one section, if you just learn about the section that you're used to and that you're comfortable in, you are not at your most powerful. You're not at your most harmonious. You're not at your most able to understand things. So it's important for you to learn and pick up things from other cultures. And this is something that is incredibly important in regular life. Like, when you're dealing with people, this is one of the reasons diversity and inclusion is actually so important. I used to talk to people and I would talk about, in this genre of whatever it is, I wish there was more diversity. And people would be like, you don't really need diversity. And I'd be like, okay, so first off, you just activated my trap card, because I have so many thoughts. But I was like, the people who always said that there didn't need to be diversity were always people who, they are everywhere. They see people like them in all aspects of media. Even if they're not portrayed in a way that they like, they see themselves pretty frequently. And this is not the case for everybody, obviously. I'm just talking about my experience of how I, engage and how I grew up and stuff. But diversity is so important, not just because it's how the world actually works. So it's like you're watching a show where it's only one ethnicity of person exists. Now, if that's a show about a particular culture, and there are cultures that exist today where there's only, like, geographically, it'll be like one group of people and it's just them. That makes sense. But like, if you have a movie or a TV show that's taking place in America, in any place that has diversity, it should be reflected in entertainment, no? Like, the excuse that I've heard is that, well, that's just, that's just not, my story. Like, it's not a lot of diverse people. And I'm like, okay, I get it if the story is taking place, like, in that period of time, right? But a lot of these stories are taking place, some of them are in fantasy worlds. And I'm like, you have the ability to have aliens. You have the ability to have all of these different, Anywho, that's a conversation for another time. But that was one of the things that stuck out to me that Uncle Iroh said. Also, the ability to lean on your friends, the ability to lean on community, slowing down. You know, Zuko was very like, we have to find the Avatar, and Uncle Iroh would frequently be like, bro, just enjoy where we're at right now, because this is going to change. Like, okay, you'll catch him at some point. It's fine. Calm down and drink some tea. Uncle Iroh is actually one of the big reasons why I drink tea, and like I prefer whole leaf tea, steeped at the temperatures that it should be steeped at. Jasmine tea is actually my favorite, and I love watching certain episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender and drinking tea. I'm like, this is just like, I'm there. It's like I'm there, especially when Uncle Iroh pops up on the you know, the screen. What else did I write down about the show? Also, Aang's struggle. Aang's struggle was one that I have always felt like I connected with, because Aang picked up obviously he was an airbender. He picked up water bending, he picked up fire bending. Earth was incredibly difficult for him. And for me, I actually am very thought leaning. I spend a lot of time in my own head. I actually, as a creative, have a lot of ideas. I have my head in the clouds a lot, and I disassociate a lot. So it's very hard for me. Like, when it comes to spirituality, spirituality agrees with me so well. It's just something that I absolutely love. However, when it comes to being grounded in the moment that I'm in, it's tough. It's tough for me to ground myself. It's why I try to spend a lot of time outside walking, and I try to spend time in nature so that I can ground myself, so that I'm not so up here all the time. And I really identified with his struggle. It's it's so much easier to evade conflict in your life. And I was this way. As a people pleaser, it was really easy for me to evade issues and to kind of be like, bloop, 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 get juked. But as I got older, I started to realize that I needed to lock into being able to deal with conflict head on. You're gonna be uncomfortable sometimes. This is the nature of existing with other human beings, is that you're gonna have differing beliefs. Even this video that I'm doing now, there are gonna be people who maybe click in and skip through the video and see something they don't like, and they might feel like there's a conflict there. And it's well, she doesn't believe the way I believe her. They don't believe the way I believe her. What they're talking about is bullshit. There's always that chance that there's going to be conflict, and learning how to appropriately deal with it head on. Your belief system, why you believe what you believe. This is another reason I think it's incredibly important to become aware, to know thyself, if you will. Because when you're moving through life, there are going to be a lot of people that test your gangster. There are going to be a lot of people who want to test you. And they're going to try to tell you how to live your life. They're going to try to tell you what you need to do. And if you do not know yourself, and if you're not confident in your belief, then you're just going to go where everybody else goes. If you don't believe in anything in particular, you fall for everything. You become a very gullible person. You just kind of go where other people go, and you don't really have what it is that makes life, what it is that you are the foundation of your life. What is the foundation of that? And that's something worth looking at. Making a list of the things that you believe, and why do you believe what you believe. It's so important. Toph is crazy. Toph is crazy. Toph actually is probably, besides King Boomy, Toph has to be my favorite bender. Because the fact that this little girl not only was an amazing, and learned directly from the ancestors. That's the other thing. Every bender, every super powerful bender locked it in with their ancestors. Fire bending was the dragons, air bending was the sky bisons, earth bending were the, what were they? The moles, the giant moles, and then water bending was what, the moon? I think it was the moon. Or a giant fish of some type. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've seen the show. But locking it in with your ancestors is incredibly important as well. And that show taught me that. So it's there's just so many aspects of the show that dealt with spirituality. There's just so much in the show. But yeah, no, Toph is ridiculous. Toph is ridiculous. The fact that this little girl not only could outbend grown-ass men, but then, spoilers for Avatar: The Last Airbender if you haven't seen it, This bitch has the nerve to figure out how to metal bend. When that scene happened, I lost my shit. I was like, oh shit, she metal bending, this bitch metal bend. You could tell me nothing. I lost it. I was so excited when that scene happened. I hopped up because I was like shaking with excitement. I was like, I can do anything. Everybody shut up. I can do anything I want to do. You can't tell me shit. I was so excited. She's just so powerful. And it's that confidence. It's that being grounded in self. It's that knowing, yeah, I can be wrong sometimes. But just because I'm wrong in this instance doesn't mean that I'm going to change the life that I'm living. You know, I'm confident in the life that I've chosen. This is what I'm doing. I'm standing 10 toes down. If you believe that you should be going out here and helping people with something, don't let somebody just, oh, well, I don't like these videos. The reason I do these videos, again, is because I was moved to be really authentic about where I am in my life and who I am, and I was moved to just get on here and yap and share stuff. And the only reason I was able to do these videos was because before I started doing these videos, I had months of standing firmly in my belief system. Like, last year was the first time I had ever disagreed with either of my parents. When they would say something and they would just say it as it was fact and I wouldn't respond, and then they would look at me like, you know, hey, do you agree? And I would be like, no, I actually don't. And the response was weird because I'd never disagreed before. I'd always just been like, and an hour, 1 minute, and 11 seconds as I say this, a lot of ones. So maybe this is somebody who's watching this is at the very beginning of not only stopping people pleasing, but setting boundaries, letting people know where you stand, letting people know that you're not about it. It's so important. One of the things that I noticed was once I started telling people, hey, yo, I don't do talking about negativity for an extended period of time. I don't feel well doing it. And when I say negativity, like, I don't mind the occasional, like, we're fun complaining, but if you're just bitching about something for an extended period of time, I can't. If I'm doing it in a way where I'm supporting a person, I can do it. But I'm not going to sit there and just talk shit for hours. Can't do it. Won't do it. Don't want to have that kind of time on my hands, if I'm being honest with you. And so, becoming firm in who I am, becoming confident in who I am, that was an important part of why my relationship with every single person in my immediate family, where I used to be a people pleaser and I kind of just let everybody walk all over me and say what they was gonna say, now I very calmly am like, nah, I don't fuck with that. Or no, I'm not going. I don't know, maybe somebody in the comments has family members or people in their lives who are like, hey, we should do this, and you don't want to go, but you also don't want to upset them, so you just go anyways and you're uncomfortable the whole time. You have a right to not want to go to events. You have a right to not want to show up to things, or to not want to attend a holiday party that somebody decided they were going to throw, and then they saddled you with a bunch of stuff you needed to do. I don't know who that's for. But bro, if you go back and you watch these shows, if you go back and you watch these anime, and you attribute it, like you connect with it in a spiritual place, there's a lot of truth. There's a lot of core truth in these shows that spiritualists are actually working with. And I don't even know if they realize that there's a connection. I don't even know if these people know that anime exists. Everybody should know anime exists. I remember when anime started becoming super popular, and I had not, I'd been watching it before. I never got bullied for watching anime because I didn't go to school and like a Naruto ran, but I didn't talk about the fact that it was from a show I watched. I just did weird shit, so I was bullied, but it wasn't for stuff like that. But yeah, let's see. And also, oh yeah, King Boomy. I forgot to mention him. So well, no, I did mention him, but King Boomy had a very childlike way of being. And you find that a lot of people who are like really powerful and really strong in anime, funny enough, are some of the silliest characters. And it's because there's a level of detachment there where they're not taking themselves so damn serious all the fucking time. And that's something that I actually have incorporated into my own life. Like, I like to be silly. I like to have fun. I don't want to constantly be on some serious shit all the time. Like, my hope is that my partner, whoever he may be, my hope is that he's silly, is that he likes to laugh like I like to laugh. It's a bonus if he can, like, make me cackle, because, again, I'm used to being in relationships where I make the other person laugh. I'm used to being the jester, if you will. I'm not very used to having a person who has me constantly just in stitches. So, I think that would be super dope. But, yeah. Like, Boomy was just really... lettuce leaf? Like, this man was on some crazy time. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then the last anime that I have listed, because I only had a few, and we're already at an hour, so I'm glad, is Death Note. Death Note, incredibly good. Oh my gosh. The cat and mouse game, Light Yagami, and oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. My favorite aspect of the show are the Shinigami. They're the death gods. And the Shinigami, to me, are actually kind of how, in my mind, when I say, you know, my spiritual team, blah, 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 something that is prevalent is that I believe that those who are in the spiritual realm are simply versions of ourselves. Kind of in the way that some people believe that other human beings in life are simply a reflection of who you are. Because I believe that we are all actually attached to the same core energy. So we appear to be separate people. We appear to be separate beings, but I believe on an energetic level, we are all actually connected. We are one energy just kind of popping up in different individual bodies. A universe becoming aware of itself and experiencing itself in many different ways, right? Why do I feel like it's getting darker in here? Don't be darker. Maybe it's just because the hair keeps slipping into my face. That might be why. But, so I believe that every member of my spiritual team, like for those of you that don't know, when I show this at the beginning of my videos, it's because this is actually a totem that I have a Black Widow spider on my spiritual team, and her name is Ethel, and she's a very old lady, and I love her so much. And this is hers. She actually picked this out. I have little totems that represent each person on my spiritual team so that when I'm doing things and I'm looking at it, it's like really funny because like I'll be looking at this and I'll just be, you know. But for me, my spiritual team, they are just versions of me. They're versions of me that it's, you know, it's essentially me talking to myself. So Ethel is the portion of me that is an old woman who likes to protect younger women, or who likes to protect people in general. It's grandma energy, essentially. And nobody else can see the Shinigami in the show. When Light's walking around with Ryuk, and Ryuk has like these little quirks, like he loves apples, and that's how my spiritual team can be. Like, I have very specific members who be with me all the time. There's only like 2 or 3 of them who be with me all the time. But then when I do meditations and I do like ancestral work and things, there's other people there. And it's funny to talk about this stuff because I know that they're like what you would call realists who watch stuff like this, and they're like, what the actual fuck? So you're just talking to yourself all day? I mean, yeah, I have to consult somebody I trust. It's me. I'm the person I trust. Which actually feels great because I used to not trust myself. I used to second guess myself all the time. I was always asking for other people to validate me because I could not trust myself. I constantly grew up. Like, I grew up with people constantly doubting the decisions I made, and then I would second guess myself. The amount of tests I took in school and got C's and D's on them because I would second guess the shit out of my answers when the first answer was always correct. But I second guessed myself. And I feel like there's some of you who are watching this video who have a tendency to second guess yourselves. And I think it's really important to start building that trust within yourself so that you don't do that. And you can walk through life confident in your abilities, confident in your decision making. Now, if you're out here making some wackadocious decisions, then obviously you wouldn't trust yourself because you knew you shouldn't have gone to that party. You knew you shouldn't have worn those pants. You knew they were 2 sizes too small. You knew they were gonna rip. 9 minutes and 9 seconds as I say that. Hey, sorry about it. But yeah, so, wait, what does this say? yeah. So when I refer to like spirit, my spiritual team, my gut, I essentially like that's kind of the world that I'm talking about. And it's just honestly it's a really cool existence. Again, doing metaphysical and spiritual stuff really does make you feel like you're an anime character. Like I'm over here feeling like I'm, Light Yagami, except I'm not trying to take people out with the Death Note. I kind of wish sometimes that it wasn't a Death Note. Like, I wish that I had a book that was like, you write in it and things have to happen. So, like, if somebody cuts me off in traffic, I can, like, pull over and write in the book the license plate number of the car and just be like, give them explosive diarrhea. And then just, like, watch from afar and watch the car, like, swerve a little bit because obviously that would happen while they're in the car and then they gotta figure that out. I just think that would be dope. I'm not even gonna lie to you. The amount of small petty shit that I'm like, I wish I could just write in a book. Like if somebody's like, pushes past me in the mall or something, I can be like, I cast Brazilian wax. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, man. Like, anime is so cool. If you are a woman watching my videos and you happen to be with a man who watches a lot of anime, or vice versa, if you are a person, well, if you're any type of person who is dating somebody who's into anime and you are not usually into it, give it a chance. Give it a chance. You owe yourself the pleasure of being able to connect with characters that are just so great and so wonderful. An hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds as I'm saying this. Like, Hinata in Haikyuu is one of my favorite protagonists. He's so passionate. He's so hopeful. He works so hard, and he doesn't let his size stop him. This man had the jumps. He was like, I'm going to hit this volleyball by any means necessary. I love that show. I would watch that show again. I was so grateful that I had the money to go see the Haikyuu movie when it came out, and I actually went alone. One of my friends who lives in Alabama, she was like, oh yeah, I think she went to see it, and I believe she had like a pair of sneakers that her fiance, now husband, bought her, and they were super dope. Like, they're anime themed sneakers. Some of them, I think one pair is Demon Slayer, and I can't remember what the other pair is, but there's some really, one of them is a pair of sneakers and the other are Converse, and they're super nice. They're super dope. And I was like, so jealous. But I actually got, I wish I had my keys so I could show you guys my little chibi Kuro and what's my boy's name? I forget his name. He's my boy. How could I forget his name? I don't know why my mind said Gagome. That was also, I think, the very beginning of my anime like life was kids at school being like, oh look, it's Inuyasha, and me being like, you guys are so funny. Wow. It's the most original joke made. The most original joke made. Wow, crazy. So lame. Dudes were lame in middle school. Really, everybody was lame. Everybody was lame in middle school. People are like, would you go back? No. I would not go back to middle school. Fuck that noise. I would not go back to middle school. I was homeschooled for a good chunk of high school. So doing it again would just be doing schoolwork, honestly. But middle school sucked ass. I was not here for it. It was so ghetto. It was so ghetto. But yeah, man. Like, anime is different from like cartoons here. Like anime, I think it's the reason why, I could be wrong, but I think it's called anime because it's short for animation, but it's specifically like Japanese animation. And so technically, like, Boondocks, the show, is not considered an anime by some people. I personally just call it an anime just because, to me, anime is anything that is designed a certain way. Like, there's a look that anime has that other cartoons do not have. But anime really is, like, it's just so, it can be so good. It can be weird. Here's looking at you, dun dun dun. but it can be weird. Oh, what was the other one that was weird? There's a few. And you know, you got, like, old school anime can sometimes be a bit questionable. We're not gonna lie here. It can be very questionable. But the heart of it, like, the whole power of friendship thing, it's so true. So many things in my life, 14 minutes and 44 seconds as I say this, so many moments in my life were indeed made better by the power of friendship. Like, so many times where I would dissociate in my friend groups, or I would sit there and become uncomfortable in my body and be like, whoa, I feel like I'm gonna throw up because just existing made me uncomfortable. I would have a friend reach over and just touch my leg or something and be like, hey, I'm here for you. The power of friendship, bro. Crazy. And I just love the complexity of some of the characters. Like, if you can find good anime to watch, like, I know some people who don't watch anime are like, it's weird, there's so much weird stuff, hentai, like, I get it. On the surface, it's weird, but it's kind of like ASMR. Like, there is solid ASMR, and there's solid anime that the storytelling, the voice acting, the dialogue, the animation, peak. Honestly, I will always recommend people watch Hunter x Hunter. I will always recommend that people watch Hunter x Hunter because it's one of those where it's just so solid. Other anime that I've watched, I'm like, ooh, a couple of these episodes are super, super suspect, and I don't know if I want to recommend it and be the reason this person sees this super suspect scene, and then we're watching it together and they're looking at me and I'm like, I wouldn't want to be that person. But Hunter x Hunter, if you have not seen it, is so good. It's so good. I cried. It's so emotional. Do I want to watch that again? I do kind of want to watch the Hunter exams arc again. Like, I love it. It's so good. There's so many characters that I just feel so connected to in that show. It's so good. Anime and video games in particular. Again, if you're a person who doesn't typically dabble in that area, I think you should, because your inner child will thank you. You will feel inspired. You will feel motivated. Like, it's so good. And, like, the intro themes can be amazing. Fire Force was another anime that I was watching, and I absolutely loved, what's your boy's name? Benimaru. I love Benimaru in Fire Force. I always like characters who are kind of like, ugh, this kind of sucks, but whatever, and then they pull, like, superpowers out of their ass, and it's like, what? He's the strongest person ever, but he's lazy? It's like, yeah. It's like, I like that Saitama is also like, alright, well, I'll just beat this dude's ass and call it a day, and then he's like, boo-doo-boo-doo-boo-doo-boo. Like, he just... so good. So good. I love that, my siblings are... No, it's interesting because as much as I like anime, I'm not a person who is so obsessed that I have seen every show, that I remember every episode, that I remember characters' names. I want to start reading manga. I'm still working on the Sandman graphic novel, because I'm one of those people who, if I'm reading like 2 books at a time, and right now I'm not reading anything, because a book that I was reading started to get boring and I was like, let me set that down, I'll come back later. But I've tried to, like, I want to get into manga. I just don't know what manga to start with, because I feel like it's just so late in the game for me to be starting. But, so if you do watch anime and you have any manga recommendations below, I like fun stuff. Ooh, The Way of the House Husband was also a good one. Agretsuko was also very good. Is Dead Man Wonderland one? That one was very good. I thoroughly enjoyed that one. Again, I love Soul Eater. Blue Exorcist was okay. It was okay. It was actually really funny. I cackled. Any anime that can make me laugh, and I'm just in there, tears. I love to laugh. This is what we're doing in 2025. Give me laughter. But yeah, so we're at 1 hour and 19 minutes. And I think I have said everything I need to say concerning these. I don't do in-depth analyses of things, which is probably why the title of this video will not be an in-depth analysis, because it's not really. For me, it's just like, you would be shocked at how your special interests actually do combine with your spiritual practice. And for those of you who are wanting to get into a spiritual practice, or you want to like spruce it up and make it more exciting, you can add your special interests. For people who are musicians, music is an incredibly powerful tool. Something that I realized was when I hear certain rappers that were rapping and they were starting out at the bottom and then they became big rappers, if you listen to some of their earlier stuff, it's not just about drugs. It's not just about the bitches and the hoes. It's not just about those things. They literally are speaking success into their own lives when they say, this is what I imagine happening for me. I can see the jets. I can see the money. I can see getting my mom out of the ghetto. I can see moving my siblings from this school to a better school. Like, you would be shocked if you go back and you listen to the music of people who were kind of like roughing it at first before they got to where they were going to get to. So like something that I heard today, the Oracle Fairy, actually, she had said one of the ways that you can manifest is to sing. So I actually enjoy writing songs. I'll write songs with the topic of the things that I'm manifesting, and then I'll sing those. I'll memorize the songs that I write for me, and then I do it that way. Also, like singing bowls, like music is such a good manifestation tool. Listening to music when you meditate, like music that you enjoy, like one of the ways that I meditate, and it wouldn't seem like meditation on the outside, but one of the ways that I meditate is I will listen to songs that make me feel a certain way, and then I will think about that feeling, and I'll sit there and I'll feel that feeling while I listen to that song on repeat. And then that puts me in the perfect like manifestation place. Perfect. And music is a universal language. So for those of you that don't know, dementia patients or people who have Alzheimer's, they will forget so much stuff, but something that seems to stick, 21 minutes and 21 seconds as I say this, so this is significant for somebody. People who have dementia or people with Alzheimer's, we do not know exactly why. We are still conducting research, because I actually used to work, I used to volunteer and I used to work in like Alzheimer's and dementia research. Is music. There are people who they've forgotten everything, but they'll remember a song, they'll remember a tune, and they can sing the words in their entirety. For those of you who know about Tony Bennett in jazz, I believe he has Alzheimer's, and he actually performed with Lady Gaga on stage. They did a whole jazz performance, and he did not forget any of the words to the songs that he did, but his memory is bad. It's pretty bad. But he remembered all the lyrics to the songs, and that's so beautiful to me, that music is able to penetrate the mind in such a way as to where you can forget all this other stuff, but music still remains. There's something really magical about that. There's something really magical about that. I'm all about magic here. I'm all about it. I love it so much. But yeah, so in a nutshell, in closing, anime is amazing. You deserve to go explore it and to see what you like. Explore the morgue. Figure out what genre of anime you like. Some people I know, they're very slice of life people. They don't like the other types of anime. They're very like, oh, I want to see the slice of life, or oh, I want to see this love story. I have not seen, because I know I'm gonna cry. I have not seen the Studio Ghibli stuff yet. And I know if you're an anime person and you're like super into anime, you're like, what? I know. Calm the fuck down. I just don't currently have access to it. So that's a big part of the reason that I was looking for ways to watch it for free, because, you know, the current state of my bank account. But I would love to watch Studio Ghibli stuff. But I know I'm going to cry, because the art style is beautiful and the music is beautiful. I already know that. I already know a lot of the Studio Ghibli music. So, and I cry to that. I haven't even seen the stuff. So, one day I'll venture into that territory. But yeah, so when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to the metaphysical, you do what works for you. You do what you are moved to do. When it comes to specific practices and people having closed practices, I don't know about that. I would honestly stay away from that if I were you. Honestly, people are not usually drawn to practices that are closed. Usually, the people who are like, well, I just feel to do this. No, you saw it online and you found it interesting. There's a difference between seeing something and finding it interesting and being drawn to it. But yeah, So those are my thoughts. 24 minutes and 24 seconds as I say that. I love you guys so much. Thank you to the new subscribers who are here. If you've watched the video this long, congrats on your amazing attention span. I appreciate you all so much. I hope you have an amazing morning, evening, afternoon, or night. After you finish watching this video, I hope you go get some water. I hope you go get some delicious ass food. If you are feeling Chinese today, have some Singapore noodles on my behalf, please, because I've been craving Singapore noodles, but I haven't been able to get those, obviously. So have those on my behalf. And also, if you are a person who is old enough to drink, go get some soju on my behalf and also have that for yourself. Have some Singapore noodles and soju. Yeah, that sounds like a really good mix, actually. And then for dessert, have some mochi. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Mochi is delicious. I need to stop. But yeah. Love you guys so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone who is here, just having a good time and on this journey with me. Mwah. I love you all. And I will holler at you guys tomorrow night, most likely. Okay, bye.